So, welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. I'm your host, Tamara Calder Richardson, a six-time near-death experiencer, an evidential medium, afterlife speaker, and Christ channeler. And today we are having part two with our very fun, very fascinating guest, which is Steven Weber, who wrote the book. Well, he co-wrote the book with Katherine Plant, and that is The Place Between Here and There. He is talking about his story, and then it's more than a near-death experience story. It's also about his spiritually transformative experiences. And we're really honored to be able to hear more of his story. This is the first time it's debuted, more of his story as he talks about not only his NDE, but his experiences. So see part one, this is part two, and I'm going to bring Steven back on to continue on with the story. I think we last left off with the welcome again for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed our discussion last time. I really enjoy speaking with you. I feel very relaxed, and I find that I feel comfortable sharing in a way that that sometimes you don't always feel comfortable doing. So I thank you.
Oh gosh, are you welcome? Oh, you're totally supported here. I wanted to create a safe platform, not only for my guests, for the people watching and asking questions. You can ask anything. It's not too stupid. And the guests, whatever they're willing to share. And the fact you said today's the day, and it was starting to kind of happen at the beginning. I was like, okay, that sounds great. So you were talking about with the motorcycle. You talked about many things before, so you got to see part one. But that you were hit head on, T-bone on the motorcycle. I mean, you were messed up every which way to Sunday. And then you were in a coma 3 weeks, and you were this place in between. And then I think we're right around there. So you just pick up where you want to.
Sure. And what I what I had left off is that I had described how I was taught how to see spirit by I had an acquaintance of mine. I saw them in all different shapes and sizes, and they were training me to see spirit. And it's very important to see the first part, because it's so critical to understand the importance of that. Because once I was able to see spirit, then so many other very beautiful things came into play. And the most important part about the first place was that I was, what I believe, syncing with the Akashic record. For a long time, I called it the universe according to Steve, because I never knew of near-death experiences.
Like that too. That's kind of good too.
No, it is funny. It's like the universe according to Steve. My Kathy often says like Steve is. I'm very opinionated, and so
really, I can't believe that.
so it lends it really well. And so what happened is that once I could see spirits, I came to certain realizations about how we're all connected and we all share a purpose, and that the infinite nature of the spirit. And in this first place, there wasn't like there was a consciousness beyond myself that was saying, okay, Steven, you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. It was like things just happened. And as long as I kept on learning, things kept on happening. And that was very good, because that when I stopped learning, all of a sudden I found myself in the next place. And it's here where I had my life reviews. And what that is that, and it is very common, I later learned, in near-death experiences where people review their lives and they learn new things from their past experiences. But as I reviewed my life, one thing was different. A few things were different. First off is now I could see spirit. And well, see spirits, I mean sense spirit. I use the word see, but it's more like I could sense spirit. And so now, in examining my past life experiences, everything took on a whole new meaning, because that now I saw things from everybody's perspective. But it wasn't even like I saw things from everyone's perspective. What it wasn't like I was involved in the scene. It wasn't like I was standing there and watching the scene. It was more like I was everywhere. Like I don't know. It's like I was everywhere. I don't know, like I was spirit, and I was
You could see it from all different directions and every part of it. Is that
Yeah,
what?
but it's tough to explain, but I was there. I was there, but I wasn't there. It was like I was spirit. I was everywhere,
Mhm.
and I was felt everything, and I saw everything, and I came to so many realizations because as I started to go through my life review, is I started to realize some of the most terrible, difficult experiences of my life, the things that brought me such anguish, things that caused such hate and anger that I had towards other people, and even worse, the shame and regret that I held for myself, is that as I started to experience those things over again and see them with the wisdom of being a 50-something-year-old and having lived it once and can see spirit, all of a sudden everything took on a whole new dimension. And one by one, all of those very difficult experiences started to fall away because as I started to come to terms with it and understand it, I began to release the blockages that prevented me, that prevented me from really resolving this. And that's why those things would eat at you.
So really, so during this time that you had where you were in between two places, between here and there, and you're going through getting you're doing a life review, you had this epiphany.
Well, it was many epiphanies because what happened is as I go through and I went through my life, whatever I was thinking about at the time as I went through my life reviews is that the life reviews was more focused on that period, like things in my life that would help me with what I was thinking through or what I was trying to resolve. And so when I said I went through my life review, I went through my life review, I don't know, thousands of times. And each time I went through it is that I knew it was going to be a really bad day. But by the end of the day, I would have learned so much and I would feel so much better about things that had happened to me, and that would bring me bliss. So I didn't see any beautiful rainbows. But what I felt is as I began going through these life reviews, I started to resolve all these lingering issues, all these blockages, all these hatreds, all this shame and animosity to myself. And all of a sudden, I felt so blissful. Because really imagine if you had no worries, you don't bear anyone any ill will. Nobody bears you any will, not because you're tolerant, just because it's okay. Like you understand. And so that's what I was being taught from these life reviews is some of these awful things were the things that brought me the most bliss. And then I began to understand is that how could I have hate or animosity towards anyone, not the least of which is the people who brought me these terrible things? Because really, once I came to terms to it, I realized that I have nothing against them. I received such bliss from this experience. I really did. It really sucked when I was going there, but now I would never know these things. And these things have nothing to do with that experience, but that experience triggered these thoughts and this journey in me that helped me understand things. And then I just received so much bliss. And so when I say it was a blissful place, it wasn't physically a this blissful place, but it was the process that brought such a sense of bliss and such a sense of relief. And that was the true beauty in that place for me.
So you're saying that really what it sounds like you received not only teachings but understandings and wisdom of the life review. It wasn't just like, oh, this happened, that happened, but you began to see I would guess the interconnection between all of it all, the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So true. And what happened is that at the end of each life review, my awareness would have been raised. And so now when going through my life review again, now I look at it with like a new set of eyes. And so now I see more things in it. And just like in the last place, there wasn't a consciousness beyond myself which said, okay, Stevie, one more time. It just, as long as I kept on learning from that life review, it kept on happening. It was almost like a natural process. I think all of these things were the steps And I believe I learned later on that that's exactly what was happening. But that those were the steps that you travel through to return back to spirit. The first thing you do is sync with the Akashic record, the consciousness of the creation. You give up all of your knowledge. You receive what's important for you now from the Akashic record. Once you do that, the next step is you go through your life review, where you review everything in your life with this new knowledge of for me, it was spirit, for someone, and maybe something else. And you learn everything you can from your life and experiences. And that's what I did in that second place. And then finally, the third place was where I was tested on what I had learned. But
Really?
I didn't know it was a test at the time. I
Okay.
didn't. It just appeared to be just another situation. And what I mean by that is not like I slept or I ate or I pooped or I did whatever. I did. You just were in situation from situation.
Okay. So
And
as a spirit person without all the human stuff, they put you through a little situation.
just situations.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't even know, Tim, if there was stuff outside. It was like everything was the focus of what was going on. It was almost like a stage, and the stage was set. And go
Well,
at it, Steve. Stage set. Let's see. Let's
this
see
is
what.
this is kind of like a stage. This life is like one big play.
So true, and felt pretty comfortable there. but but really is that when I was being tested, is that once again, as I didn't know I was being tested, I thought it was just another situation, and I was put in charge of these children, young adults,
Mhm.
and I had to teach them a task, and they wouldn't listen to me. No matter what I did, they wouldn't listen to me. I'm a pretty persuasive guy, and I tried to like set them up in teams. Red team, blue team, you win. You're the captain. You win. You'll beat the captain. I tried every different way of motivating them, trying to get them together to work together to do this task, because the task required cooperation, and I couldn't get them to cooperate with each other or with me or anybody. They were all like their own independent actor. I was trying to get them to come together, like to work together, and realize there was to work together.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it. And then
Mhm.
finally I was at my wit's end, and I stood before who was in charge. And I realized that I was standing before myself, not myself, Stevie Weber, as I realized I was standing before my higher self, that part of me which is always in spirit. And that only part of me is Stevie Weber, who comes down into earth. I just use the term down because whatever. But
I hear ya.
only part. And that now when I stood in this person's grace, I felt this energy. Like I couldn't tell like what had happened in my life, in the life or their experiences, but I could tell how they felt about it. And that they had a process, they had an understanding. And when I stood in their grace, it wasn't like I asked questions and I received an answer. It was like it was easier for me to figure out things. I don't know how to explain it, but all of a sudden, like some of the things that were distracting were no longer distracting. And so much of it there was, it's called your own Namo Guru Dev Namo, your inner teacher. And so much, nobody told me anything ever. I had experiences which spoke to my inner teacher that brought this understanding in me. That's the way it seemed to work there, is that nobody told me or taught me anything. These experiences spoke to my inner teacher, my own Namo Guru Dev Namo, and helped me to learn these processes. So now when I'm here with these kids and I'm standing before my higher self and I'm thinking this through, I come to this realization that I have totally mistook the situation, is that I am not here to teach these kids a task, that these are spirits who have yet to have a human incarnation. And I am here to shepherd them in to their human incarnation. And just what I sense that they couldn't work together is that they didn't understand the spirit, the connected nature of everything. And I was taught how to see spirit in everything. I was taught all these wonderful spiritual things. And I've gone through all these things, the connected nature of everything and spirits. And did I see any of this? Did I do any of this? No, I didn't. All I did was see them as dopey kids. like I'm smarter than them. I can manipulate them for their own good, but I can manipulate them. I did not see them truly as spirits, and I could see them as spirits now. And I failed back to all those stupid earthly things. And once I had that realization and I saw them as spirit and I saw my role to be there to shepherd them into this incarnation, I was able to get them to connect to one another and to begin to start to foster that fame of the Holy Spirit in each and every one of them, because I really believe that's what's required when you come down here to really make the most of that you have to have that spark in you first, or else perhaps you've come too early and it's going to be something crazy. But I really think you need that spark first. And I think that's what my job was, to instill in these kids. And then once I learned that, once I understood that, I kind of understood something else. Is that in the same way that we're talking about how the spirit grows and develops through many incarnations. Each time your awareness grows, and that becomes your intuition, which you bring forth into your next incarnation. Is that I really believe that these kids, I think perhaps when I say their first human incarnation, I believe that perhaps they were animals, like creatures, like in other incarnations, like this is their first step into understanding the Holy Spirit. At least I believe is that perhaps that's the real spiritual evolution. When we make that first step from just being about surviving, pleasure maximizing units, to go to understanding spirit. Once we as spirit begin to understand ourselves, that's what I believe we have a human incarnation. And that's what I failed at first. But then after that, wow, it really came into so much things, because all of a sudden I understood why the animals were animals. I understood the development of the spirit. I understood so many things I learned and already here. And then just as quickly as it started, once I stopped that, the next place I was back in my hometown. I was.
You just can't get out of that hometown. I know you are now, but
you could
back.
You can take Brooklyn out of the girl, but yeah, you can take girl out of Brooklyn. Can't take, yeah, so true. It's small town life, right?
Well, there's a familiarity, and family. You have a lot of family there, so I could see the ties. We're sentimental as humans.
Well, I think that's why that was part of my experience, for just the reason what you said, Tamara, because that it really was, because it was so familiar to me, because I found myself in my hometown, and it's a ritual. There's this big mount of hills that overlook the shore and the big sound, and we all go there at the end of the day, and we drink coffee, and some people drink from red Solo cups that aren't coffee, and we watch the sunset. We talk about who's doing who in town, and like all the good gossip that makes small town life great. And so when I was in this place, as I sat there with my two old friends, Joey and Johnny from town, they were in their 70s, and John, he was a great guy. He was like the voice of God in church. A Catholic, and I go to Christmas and Easter Catholic, and I would go to church, and when he would do the readings, he would say, "And Jesus said," and the place would shake. He had this boom. He was such a great guy. I really loved this guy. And he had diabetes, and he suffered with infections all of his life. It really was a tough road for him, especially in his leg, and that plagued him. And then Joey, he was another old buddy of mine in the 70s. Irish guy, spoke with a brogue. He could tell a tale. Always had a great disposition. Really, both of these guys, great dispositions, in spite of their injuries, because Joey, he dove in the water and broke his back, and he had to have as a young kid, and he had to have plates put in his back, so he walked around like Frankenstein most of his life.
Oh, how awful. What a road to carry.
It's so important to people who are dealing with grief about how I explain about how I came to terms with losing my son, and using these two experiences and understanding. It just brings people so much peace. It really does. And when I began this journey, as I thought it was going to be about spirit, it's really become about helping people with grief. And so that's a part that's coming up next.
No, absolutely. Well, maybe I know you were talking about your friends and so forth, and then going into that, but
Yeah.
all this is important to help people understand.
It is. It's very important because those friends are very important in the story. Very important.
Now, did they pass already? Your friends that you're
Well,
talking about?
are we recording?
Yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
So with Joey and Johnny in this place, it was so much like Kings Park. Like I said, we did that like an every day in Kings Park. And so at the end of every day, I use the term day loosely, I would watch the sunset. And the sunset was only setting because that was part of the experience. It wasn't that if that wasn't going on, that would be the experience. No, the sun was setting because it was part of the experience. And I would sit and I'd watch the sunset with Joey and John every day. And this went on hundreds of times, it seemed like. And then one day I thought to myself that Joey and Johnny had both passed earlier that year.
Oh,
And they can't be here right now. And wow, that echoed in my mind over and over again. And for many times after that, I would go through that scene with them over and over again. And that's all I would think about. I wouldn't think about the sunset anymore. I would think about they can't be here because they both died. Joey got hit by a car, earlier that year, probably because he couldn't see, because he couldn't move. And John died of an infection of his leg, from his diabetes earlier that year. And I was like, I didn't know why they were there. And then, so finally, I want to ask them why they were there, but I felt like almost I shouldn't do that. I don't know why. But as time went on, as I kept on feeling this really intense urgency, if I didn't get the chance to talk to them now, I would never get the chance ever again. And so finally one day, as I asked them, why are they there? And they said, they are there to make sure that I'm all right. And that was just so odd to me because I didn't think anything was wrong with me, because I didn't know of an accident. I didn't remember it. I was just living this life. All these strange things were happening to me, but for some reason it didn't register. It just didn't register. It didn't. And then I'm watching the sunset, and instead of setting, it just got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And then I shielded my eyes. When I opened my eyes, I was in my hospital bed, and my mother was sitting over me, holding my hand, telling me I was in a coma. I've been unconscious for a long time, but I'm awake now, and everything's going to be all right. And I was certain she was telling the truth.
so that's how you knew when you came back to consciousness. Wow. Well, at least you saw the face of your mom when you came back. That's precious.
I'm glad I didn't see a red guy with two horns and a forked nose.
So when you were thinking about this whole experience, and it wasn't the sunset, it was actually the companionship of your friends, you didn't understand. They were worried about you. You're like, I'm okay. What's the problem? It didn't even register to you because you weren't in pain, and you were just you, which is
See,
an
I did.
internal you.
Right. But I didn't realize it until later on what they meant by we're here to make sure you're all right. It wasn't until I started to go through rehab, because I was I couldn't walk. I had all these injuries. It took me a year to walk. I mean, it was touch. I looked like a plucked chicken, Kathy says. Yeah. I was she says she's certain that I had a six pack underneath a six pack.
Well, so how long were you in the hospital total?
Months, a couple months. It was a big
And then
deal.
rehab after that. So
And
wow.
so, but I took on this zealous thing with rehab because I really pushed myself. I really did. And almost like there was a surety of outcome. It's like I felt like I was very wise in what I was doing. And I knew that I was going to get better. I knew it. And it was then it occurred to me, Joey and Johnny, yeah. When they asked about making sure I'm all right, they didn't mean there. They meant here. That they're my spirit guides. that they
Oh
are here to
gosh.
make sure. Johnny, he had his leg. My leg was mangled. Joey had a busted neck. My neck was busted. Who else? I mean, really, how does this happen?
Oh my gosh.
Who else to be my spirit guides?
Cool.
It wasn't like they were saying one more push-up. It wasn't like that. It was like I had the wisdom that they had. It wasn't like they gave me the answer to something. Like I felt like in the same way that I stood before myself in that place, I received like an understanding. It's like that's what I received from them. And that's what drove me to get better. That and my co-author Kathy. Because when I was in that place and I was dealing with the kids, there was this lady there praying, and I had no idea who she was. All she did was pray, and it was distracting at first. In fact, it was very distracting.
Was she praying over you in your room or
No,
what?
no, she in this place,
Mm-hmm.
she was there, this spirit,
In
and they
spirit.
just sat there, and all they did was pray. Everything that was going on didn't phase this person. It was almost like this person was not there, but they were there. And all they did was pray. But as I began to listen to them, first I tried to listen to the words. I really couldn't make out the words. But after a while, it was like the words didn't matter. It was like the words were like a pathway, like a highway for this energy. It didn't matter what the word was. It was what was behind the words. It was almost
Yeah.
like a river that brought this energy. And what this energy was is that it was this loving, this, but more than a love, it was an intelligence. Like it's almost like this love was is more than just love. It was love and intelligence and caring and stewardship. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just so overwhelming that it gave me strength. It really did. It really gave me strength at a point where I was really I was having a tough time.
Yeah.
But when I woke up in the hospital, I was intubated, I was tied down. And for the record, it's the first time I was tied down with my clothes on before, but that's a story for another day.
Oh, okay. This is a joke. This is a joke
and
around the
so
corner. Put up
and I was intubated and I couldn't speak and I was tied down. And for a long time, I just sat there and I thought about that person. But I remembered, I could see spirit now. And I knew who that spirit was. That spirit was a friend of mine, a mom friend, casual mom friend, casual mom friend. Just like my other friends who I met in that place. This mom, Kathy, she was one of my co-moms. And so as soon as I got my phone, I texted her and I said, hi, Kathy. Thank you for visiting when I was out, if you know what I mean. And she freaked out because I thought she would think I was nuts because we never had these kind of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, oh, you know? And I said, let's just say I've been to another place where I know that we share a connection that goes beyond this place. And I want to see you right away and come and see me tomorrow. And what I learned later on is Kathy said she prayed for me every day. She was on a schedule. She prayed for me every day. At the same time, she said these St. Jude novenas. I mean, she knows what they are. But she said that it was almost like a trance. She just really, it was something that she did every day. And she reached out and touched me in that other place. And I knew it. And I shared it with her and she understood it. But wow, Tammy, that was the last of that for a long time because that after that, I forgot about the place between here and there. It's not that I forgot about it. It's I didn't want to talk about it because I thought I was nutty. Because I thought anybody who talked about this shit was nutty. I thought they were lychee bean eating, blah, blah, blahs. You know, if the Stevie who knew me 10 years ago met me today, he'd beat the crap out of him. He would. You know, and I didn't want to be one of those people. And no, it's honest. I mean, I didn't.
No, I hear you. You're right because we know people that try really hard to be like all like touchy feely woohoo, but when you just kind of like, hey, I can't help it. I don't. This is just where I live now. Well, you were different.
So true. But I just, yeah, and so I kind of kept it to myself. And every once in a while, I would let a little bit of it out. And Kathy started to become a closer friend of mine now because of this experience. And so she's like the Energizer Bunny. She's like halfway between Sergeant Slaughter and Mother Teresa. Like she'd kick me in the ass and then say, "Oh, baby, you'll be okay." She like this
That's
passive
so
aggressive
funny.
tendency that really,
Oh my gosh, that's
and
funny.
and so things were going really well for a while. And I was getting better. It was about a year after the accident. I could walk now. And then just about the worst thing that could happen to a person happened, is that I came home. I found my beautiful 20-year-old son dead from a heroin overdose.
Oh my
Just,
gosh.
I tried to revive him. And it was too late. And it's in our hometown. They brought out every piece of equipment in the town. The people who responded were my son's football teammates.
Dear God.
And
How old was he?
he's 20 years old. He
Oh,
was a
good.
he was a New York State championship wrestler. New York State championship. He played the piano like Mozart. I mean, this guy played the piano. He played the guitar like Jimi Hendrix. He played the saxophone like Dizzy Gillespie played the horn.
Mm.
This guy, he was something else. He was on academic and an athletic scholarship to Lehigh University, one of the most prestigious universities, engineering schools in the United States. He just went through a funk, and it just happened so quickly.
Oh, dear God. I mean, it sounds like he had the whole world in his hands. And, it sounds like he was built, he was smart, and he was artistic, and then just did he get depressed and in a bad way? Did you ever find out what happened?
Yeah, it was a series of things, but when a child's going through that, what's normal, what isn't, you're figuring it out, and those are the questions that
Yeah.
I went in my mind over and over again. What did I miss? How did I fail? I tried so hard. I was elected to the school board just to take care of my kids, and I ate at me for such a long time. It just ate at me. I was so heartbroken. I just went into this funk. And Kathy was spending a lot of time with me then. She would walk me around. And then one day when we're walking around, she never pressed me. And every once in a while, I'd talk about the universe according to Steve and laugh at myself. Kathy never thought it was funny. She never thought it was funny at all.
That's not funny.
And so and then one day Kathy says to me, she says, "Steve, did Nick ever try to talk to you from beyond?"
Yeah.
Tamara, I was angry with her because that I felt at the time, I did. I felt at the time this was completely useless, is that I was struggling with this. This is no pie in the sky shit. This is real. Right. I was dealing with this thing, and my world has come crumbling down. And you're talking about my son communicating to me? Give me a break. Of course I didn't say that. I said, "No, honey. Oh, but thank you. I'll keep my eyes open." I didn't want to mess with her. But she brought out this little statue of Saint Teresa that she just had in a glove compartment of a car. And she says, "Let's put this here." She got a pen, wrote it on a rock, put the rock down. "We miss you, Nick, blah, blah, blah." Put the pen there, magic marker, leave it next to the tree. Come back a couple of days later, there's like 50 rocks next to the tree. And not only there are prayers and other things written on it, but not only is there Saint Teresa, but there's a Buddha, there's a Kuan Yin, there's every little statue you can imagine. And it just got bigger and bigger. And I thought to myself at first, I thought to myself, wow, everyone has problems. Who am I? But then again, I thought about the place between here and there. Like in a real way, not even questioning it now for this moment. As I thought about that, and I thought about, no, not everyone has problems. Is that we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
And we are helping each other through those problems. And this is what I'm seeing here. It was like the Sting song, "Message in the Bottle," where he says he puts a message in the bottle, he throws it out, and he's hoping that he gets the answer, and instead he gets 10,000 bottles back with problems. But really, I realized that I'm not alone in this world, that there are people who
And they
care,
care.
who have feelings,
Mhm.
who reach out. Some were words of support, some were asking for support. That was my first step to getting better, to really begin to come to terms with things. And that was the first thing that I began to start to talk about, the place between here and there with Kathy. And Kathy would tease me in the sense, like, she'd call me so pigheaded because she says everything's obvious, but I ignore it. And at this time we began to see these red roses everywhere, everywhere in the middle of winter. And she's saying, somebody's sending us a message, red roses. And I'm like, out of your mind, Kathy. People just, red roses, flowers. People take pictures, they leave roses behind. And she was swearing we were getting a message from somebody. So my cousin goes to a psychic, a medium.
Mhm.
I'm better now, medium. and, uh,
You are better now. That's good.
and go to a medium to connect with her mother. Instead of getting her mother, my son Nick asked to come in. And so she allows him. And so they have this interaction. And so the long and short of it is that she tells what my son's birthday is January 2nd. She says St. Teresa's birthday is January 2nd. And she says that Nick has been sending you the flowers because that through St. Teresa, he has a synchronicity with St. Teresa. He's sending the flowers and he's working through my cousin because I am too pigheaded and I'm not listening, and he's trying to communicate with me. And
Wow.
that no matter what he does, I am not open to communication. And and um, and it was so odd because at the time, I told Kathy, yeah, they can look on Facebook. They know things. And she says, no, no, no. This is
That's
Steve.
kind of personal. They wouldn't know about the flowers. They wouldn't know you're necessarily pig-headed.
Yeah. And she said that Saint Teresa is the little red flower, the red flower. And so there was a synchronicity, and Kathy just happened to have Saint Teresa, and it just in her card, like someone had gave it to her, and then just happened to be the same birthdays. And like all this was very odd and strange. And so Kathy was still upset. I still wasn't buying it because for my own reasons.
Right. Right.
And
You were
so
probably still hurt, and it just you don't wanna be wishful thinking probably for no reason at
no,
first anyway.
no, it also is, and it's just something my mother said to me the other day. A psychic friend of ours, this wonderful
Mhm.
person,
Mhm.
said that she mentioned that she heard received the message that the reason why my son died is because he was such a great athlete, and so it was like a sacrifice to show everybody how dangerous this could be, and blah blah blah. And that bothered me because it sounded like a standard line to make me feel better. And so that, but I know she was right. I know she was right. Now I do. Then I was upset by it because it's just I don't want
Well,
I don't want people blowing smoke at me. I want
yeah,
it to be real.
but even if it was true, we don't I mean, would
I
a
wasn't
parent
ready.
would a parent wanna hear that? "Oh, they sacrificed them," like, I don't wanna hear that, right?
I think you're right. And because we were friends, she felt comfortable in saying that, but I
Yeah.
wasn't in the right spot. And this person is a ray of love and light who's meant so much and has opened up my eyes to so many things. So I want to make that clear too. So yeah, definitely. And so I
But it sat with you, though. You thought
yeah,
about it.
yeah, it definitely did. And then my cousin gives us a mass card for St. Teresa. It was at the 1 year anniversary of my son's passing. And so we go to our shrine. We used to call it the St. Teresa's Woodland Shrine. And by now there were hundreds of rocks there. It was a pretty big thing. It's almost like a tourist attraction. And so we go to place the card there, and we go reading on the card, and it says St. Teresa's birthday is 1/2, my son's birthday. And then it has a canonization day. A canonization day is May 17th. That's the day my son died.
Wow.
At some point, having had that, wow, I went home that night. I had the dream where I felt like my son was with me. I really did. I felt like my son was with me, but he was with me in a different way. Like it was so like happy and like I don't know how to explain it. It was just like this beautiful energy. I felt like everything
Everything was okay.
Yeah. Well, reaction to my allergy medicine. I like everything was okay. And then when I woke up, I realized it wasn't a bad dream, but I was relieved of that grief. It was almost like a gift to me. And then I began to look at the place between here and there and that experience. And I began to understand everything that I had gone through and imagining my son Nick was going through each and every one of these things too. And as much as that bliss that I was feeling, he was feeling that now too. And all of these things were making sense to him. And I could tell you how beautiful that place was to me in my own way. And I know he was feeling that. And I kind of feel in my own way that that was his goodbye, that he was transitioning into spirit. I was coming back. He was not. And then he was transitioning into spirit. And really, once I came to terms with that there is the afterlife, that it is real, and that there is messages, that there is communication, I was able to relieve myself of the blockages that prevented me from enjoying my son, because all I remembered was the horror of that experience and not the beauty of the life that we shared. We had so many great times together, and I got those back. Just as my life review, as I relieved the blockages of the things in my life, I felt the bliss and I felt better, just as my son relieved me of that grief just for a moment, that I was able to lift the veil, to really Om Namo Gurudev Namo, for my inner teacher to really understand. And I got my son back. But even more than that, in the town in which I live, everybody looks at me with these eyes, with these sad eyes. They grieve for my son, but also they grieve for the grace of God. It's not them. And I know that feeling, because that's the same feeling I had when we talked about that accident, with that guy driving the wrong way. Is that I wanted to relieve them of that. I wanted to restore that joy, which I now felt. So the first things I did, I went down to the local pub with my son's wrestling medal. I found his football coach. I put the medal on him, and I started to ask him about his son. After he got done crying and told me he was going to beat the crap out of me for doing this ever again. But
is that a thank you? I don't know.
No, that's a thank you.
Okay.
And we talked about our children for the first time. And so now every time I see all of my friends, the first thing I do is I talk about their kids, because they didn't want to talk about their kids to me. They felt awful about it. That they felt awful. I want to relieve them of that. So now every time I see them, I say to them, how the kid, when's my invite coming to the wedding? Because it's true, because that energy still exists. It lives in their children. It truly does. And so once I began to open myself up to messages, certain things happened, because once I relieved myself of that grief, then I really started to receive messages from Nick. But it was a type of messages like, for instance, Kathy and I were walking on the beach during this crazy epidemic we were suffering from. And she connects with the violet flame, Saint Germain. And she prays and uses Saint Germain's energy and redirects it as healing energy to the world. And during these times, so we go on these walking meditations, and she does this. So first off, if it wasn't for Kathy, things would be a lot worse. I just want to establish that. And what she does is, after she's done doing that, she asks for a sign that Saint Germain heard her. So this time when we're walking on the beach, she's asked for violet beach glass. And if you know anything about hunting for beach glass, violet beach glass, you will never find violet beach glass. You will find hen's teeth. You will find a diamond on a mountain of rocks before you will find violet beach glass. So I knew she would be disappointed. And so we're walking away. She has this big sad puss on her face, and no violet beach glass. And I'm trying to think of words of wisdom to make her feel better. And then out of nowhere, this little puppy, this little Dalmatian puppy, little white puppy with black spots, comes out of nowhere comes running over, jumping all over us, slobbering all over us. The owner comes running out. I'm sorry. We're like, no, we're dog people. It's okay. And we pet the dog. We're having a great time. And the dog calms down a little bit. I lean over to the lady. I say, what's the dog's name?
Oh, you got to be kidding. It's not Nick.
No, it's Violet.
Oh, Violet. Oh my gosh. Really?
So Kathy misses this. Miss Spirituality misses this. And so we're walking away and she has a puss on. And oh, no, Violet Beach. I say, Kathy, the dog's name's Violet.
You got it.
That's not the story. I say to Kathy, I say, no. I say, Kathy, it's more than a woo-woo. She was like, it was a message, woo-woo message. I say, no woo-woo message. There is a message here. We have to understand this message. We have to see this lady again. And so roll it back like 2 weeks later, we're on the beach. She winds up that she is a local, so she goes there all the time. We see her walking on the beach with Violet. Kathy goes running over to her, tells her the story. I'm like, don't tell her anything. She's going to think we're nuts.
She's going to think we're weird.
Kathy does not care at all. And so she did not think she's weird. And the dog's name is Violet because her and her son's favorite movie was Gone with the Wind. And they loved Scarlett O'Hara. And they loved her violet dress. And so when her son passed,
oh, dear God,
under tragic circumstances, she got this dog and she named him Violet, but she spelt it like Scarlett spells her name. And that's why the dog, the little white and black and white dog, is named Scarlett. And so we became very good friends and we shared a lot of things, you know? And I thought like I was there to save her. And it's like so true, like so many of those things. It's like it's an equal exchange. You think it's going to be like that, but it's really an equal exchange of energy. And that's really what it is. That's how my son communicates to me, with signs, with messages. It wasn't until I relieved myself of the grief, I got in tune with the place between here and there, and I understood it. But it wasn't until this final thing that all the pieces came together, because they caught the guy who sold my son the drugs.
Oh,
and
wow.
and they had a great case because my son had no other drugs in his system besides the heroin.
Yes.
And they had videotape of him coming and delivering it to my son.
Are you kidding?
All of these things. And
Wow.
so I wanted so much to hate this guy. I tried as hard as I could. I couldn't do it. In fact, I felt sorry for him.
Yeah,
Not sorry.
Sorry.
No, not sorry pitying him. I felt sorry that his life has taken this. I've just lost my son, but I can't get that hate into my heart. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, how come I can't do that? And I remember the newspapers, they interviewed me, and I was telling them that it was odd. I just couldn't, I don't understand why I don't feel that way. And I thought to myself, if this guy feels like he owes me something, live a life, get out of jail, serve your time honorably, have a family, be a dad, go to your son's wedding, have grandchildren, live that life, make a life for yourself. That would bring me peace, you know? But then, very recently, I started thinking about that. And I started thinking about my life review. And I wonder, I don't remember it, but I wonder, did that experience with seeing those parents lose their child and see the defendant and see all the emotions, everything that I saw, was that part of my life review? Did I have that as part of my life review? And is that the reason why, when I was exposed to this experience, all of these crazy things, that now that I gaze upon the defendant, that I feel nothing but love? I know I feel shame for this. I do.
Oh my gosh, this is deep. Oh my gosh.
But
Okay.
so
If you haven't seen part 1, you've got to see part 1, because this is like the punchline at the end where, wow, where you're like, it's revealed. It's like one of those Shamanamana movies, whatever. At the end, you're like, oh my
how does this
God.
happen? How does this happen? I mean, really, how does this happen?
I mean,
Really,
it's got to be orchestrated because there's no other answer. It's just, this is too much.
Tammy,
Uh,
Tammy, I'm struggling with that. That's a really good. I know we're short on time, but that's really something I'm struggling with, the orchestration part, because this is something that Kathy and I argue about all the time. We, you want to hear spiritualists argue? They say, "Wow, I see you have lots of room for personal improvement." That's like the ultimate insult, by the way. But we argue about this point all the time. Is that she believes that we engage in soul contracts, and many people do, and I understand this. I'm in a minority in this. That they engage in these soul contracts, that you willfully and knowledgeably set up situations where you are going to learn important things, the reason for your physical incarnation, and that this is why you come here. And that all I'm saying, I'm not that type of a spiritualist in that sense. All of my spirituality comes from my experiences, so I don't have anything, but nothing in my experience gave me anything to indicate that there was any kind of a plan. Everything just seemed to
you're not
be.
supposed to
Let
know.
me, let me, let me, let me. This is really, really important, Tam, because I'm coming around to you, because I never thought, because it seemed like everything just worked. But if that's the case, if that's truly the case, I'm beginning to wonder. This fits together so well. This can't be by chance. Like, how is this by chance? Like, I could do the math. How?
No, even Kathy, and I know you're going to tell more of the story of you two, which that's the prayer, and you recognize her as a spirit. It's kind of big stuff to all this fits together, and even to wrap your brain around that. Why would someone go through like your friend with a diabetic and pass that way, and why would this, and your son, why would he? Let's go further. What about me? Why would I agree to sexual abuse from my stepdad? Why? Okay, that's creepy. Well, I don't know if it's like that. I think my guess on that is more like this. You have soul contracts to learn certain things. Although we do live forever, we don't really die. But I think we agree to, I want to, for example, someone may need to learn humility and this and that. They're not told, well, we're going to take this away from you, or this is going to happen, or you're going to have this painful disease. I don't think they're told, okay. They were like, okay,
All
I don't
right.
think that's
Sure.
it. I think that I didn't agree to the sexual abuse. What I agreed is to learn to be compassionate and understanding of others, and to not judge them, and also the perpetrator to have a sense of, I mean, maybe these aren't the right words, but compassion, that they're so sick in their mind that they would do this to a child. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think we agree to, oh, the disease or the whatever. I think we agree to the experience, but
The
we don't,
situation.
the situation, but we don't know what the test is. And some people say, well, God wouldn't test us. That might be true, because it might be our higher self testing us what we need to have to go on to the next level. I mean, this is some deep stuff.
Well,
Um,
what you're saying is very consistent with my experience. It is. It's very consistent with my experience about that. I also the idea about your experiences, like when I think about the important experiences and the takeaways from this, and how much it's changed my life. Not the least of which is coping with very, very challenging circumstances, but in all the ways that it's changed my life. And one of the most important things is that in the final message is that life is good and people are good, even when very sad things happen. It really is, because that, as I experience, your experiences are everything. They're the only thing that you could take with you. So don't let people do bad stuff for you to get you to grow and learn. That's the opposite of what you need to do.
don't have to do that. You could
But
choose a better way.
yeah, but when bad things come your way, you deal with it. But but you don't let it drag you down. You learn from it. You try when the time is right to release those blockages so you can really understand, and receive that bliss. You're denying yourself the bliss. You've done your work by getting the experiences and suffering from it. You deny yourself the bliss if you don't come to terms with it. And it's worth it. It really is. And even now, I do life reviews every day. If I cannot look back at myself, even 3 weeks ago, and think what an asshole I was, I'm not growing. I'm not. And that's the purpose of a life review, because that over time, I believe that all of those crazy experiences that you have that make you a very reactive person, they create an ego inside of you, another person that is always competing with your spirit, because this ego has this whole belief system that can't be challenged or anything.
I agree.
This is what we learn to break free from. At least I think so.
I feel like there's a part of, as we grow spiritually, there's a part of ourself, and I think this frightens a lot of people, that we might need to you could say kill off. We could say put away. I'll just say, look, I tell people, put to the side your religion or no religion, your thoughts about yourself, your labels about yourself. Just put it on ice for a while. How about that? And consider and just be open to a new way, and surrender to that higher part of yourself, to the creator, whatever that is, and to be able to learn. I think the biggest form of forgiveness is, honestly, it's the hardest one. It's ourselves. Just like you said, why couldn't I have stopped that? It's just like, why didn't you get that? But we're all like that. We have certain areas like, we got that going okay, but this area hadn't even thought about. It's a big mystery. So we're a work in progress. And today, when we wake up tomorrow in this unit of time, this reality, what we consider reality, we can start it. It's like a new day. But everything, it blows my mind, but everything works for the greater good of our advancement, spiritual and our spiritual advancement, individually and together at the same time. And just like you mentioned, your buddies or your spirit guides, what a blessing to have gotten to know them, because now they come to you and they'll start joking and ribbing you. It's them.
I feel that they communicate to me in a way it's very, it's beautiful. It just really good, but really, they're spirit shields. They're not spirit shields, they're spirit guides. And so many times, like, people think like a spirit guides or spirit shield is supposed to shield you from bad things. But no, that would be the opposite of their purpose. Their purpose is really to help you get through the bad things, not avoid the bad things, get through there so you can keep on putting one foot in front of the other one. Sometimes it's very difficult to do that. I mean, everyone may live a charmed life, but me. But sometimes it's very difficult for me to put one foot in front of the other at times, at least at one point in my life. And so spirit guides that help you to do that, to keep on, and to hopefully be able to learn the lesson here and now and get the bliss now. You did the work here. Get the bliss now.
So I want, you're going to be coming back, and I want you to talk about, this has been so soulful and so beautiful, and it's just really touched me, because I tell people over and over, near-death experiencers, we didn't have the experience and go on with it. This is still evolving. We're asking questions. Why is this? Why is that? Is it all interrelated? And the more you look at it, in my life, I could see all these synchronicities. You're going, this is pretty big stuff, and then we're all interconnected, and it's all going on with other people, and we touch each other. It's amazing if you think about this life force.
Yeah, Kathy, I think it's really important our next, when Kathy and I are on here together.
The live chat. Mm-hmm.
Because I thought what was important, I wanted to share this special part of the experience with you. And so there's some important things, you being a medium and having these abilities. I wanted to have this discussion, just the two of us. So okay. I'm so grateful for that. But want Kathy on next time, because that not only will we talk more about our experiences together, but really it's our experiences as people, real people in the real world, because we are spiritualists, but it's so true, but we're real people. We have to take out the garbage, we have to pay bills, and it's like balancing your spirit with the real world. And we have such wonderful times, but sometimes we argue too. and we do stuff. Yeah, but and it's keeping it in perspective, and you have to feel it. I was kidding around before. If Kathy really wants me to really insult me bad, she'll say something like, "Oh my, you have tremendous room for personal improvement."
That's funny. Well, you really are cute together. And then people will be able to see you here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over your spiritual experiences together because we have just ourselves and then we have our dynamics. And one is the person we spend our life with. And so, how that came about, the synchronicities there, what is a twin flame? And also, we're going to do a little meditation to help people because they've had, people have had difficult time with relationships, whether it's someone they're whoever that is, whoever they've been living with for so long. And most people aren't used to being in a house stuck in there so long with their family, whether it's their kids, whoever it is. So, look, thank you so much, Stephen. You have been such a blessing, and I can't wait to have you back with Kathy. You're wonderful. You just thank you for your vulnerability.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoy our time. I feel so comfortable, and it's just like, yeah, I'm really, you say vulnerability, I take that as a compliment, but really, it's about us connecting, and I think what people sense is we are connecting. It's not that some people say it's surrendering it's not that. It's that I'm here, you're here, we're
Yeah,
connecting, and that's
yeah,
what
we're
spirits do.
present.
That's
We're
what spirits
present.
do. Yeah.
And you know what? I never let people call me Tammy, but when you say it,
Oh, I'm
it
sorry. I keep
no,
on
no, no.
saying that.
When you say it, strangely, it touches my heart.
Oh, well, it rolls off so easy. I have to. I'll get
It's
better.
so
I'll get
no,
better.
it's so cute. I really, but it's so precious. It just rolls off so easily that I feel like, oh, you're like, I only let people from my little girl days say that, but it makes me, it's endearing when you say it. Thank you so much for your
Can I say one quick little thing? I want to say something about Kathy's meditations, and that they're really important because that what she does and the way that she approaches it, it's part of getting you to understand and getting you to a certain state of being, a certain state of mind where you can clear out your mind of the mind chatter and be able to reconnect
time.
and perhaps address some of these things. But also, there's a purpose to the meditation because for the meditations, they're for a cause to bring everyone's energy together because we really believe that through meditation and bringing everyone's energy
Yeah,
together through the law of attraction that we could really make a change
yeah,
in this world. So the
I
meditations are partly to connect you with
yeah,
the all that is, but once you're connected, to use that energy. It's kind of like receiving
oh, yeah.
messages. You could say wow for the messages, but go for the message in the same way that
Mhm.
there's a message in the meditation, but there's also a purpose. And let's heal the world
I
together. Come
no,
with
I
us and
love
heal the
that.
world.
Hey, I love that. I mean, I am in. If you ever want to do a meditation to heal the
Yeah,
world, we'll do some
love
of
to.
that on
Love to.
here. But I'm all about that because I feel if we connect our love energy vibration, that miracles can manifest. I believe that,
Oh,
and so
well,
I'm
thank you.
excited about this next part. So thank you so much,
Peace,
and
love, and
you're
light.
just a joy. And make sure you get the book between here
Amazon.
and now.
Yeah, we have it on a paperback. We have the Audible book. We have it in Spanish, and Kathy and I are working on our second book, The Place Between Here and There. But this book is called Lessons Learned Between Here and There, and it's actually going to be later on an amendment to our original work. But this explains all the lessons that we learned in that place and how we apply it to regular life and how that really brings bliss in this world or any other world which may come after.
Well, you're welcome anytime. I consider you a soul brother, and I
Oh,
can't wait to meet
soulful.
Kathy. And thank you so much.
Peace.
Namaste and much love.
Not now.